Well, guys, after waiting an entire season, the secret is finally out, but that does not mean that anything is resolved. Hey guys, camera for Penny Dreadful, Season 3, Episode 7, Ebb Tide, and holy shit, what an episode. I mean, this episode was insane. This is without a doubt the memento mori of this season. Remember how great that episode was? The episode that ended a lot of arcs and started to basically set things up for the season finale. That's how great this episode was. The difference was, well, that episode only contained a few arcs. This episode contained all arcs, and a lot of big things happened in all of those arcs. This episode finally gave us everything that we wanted. Pretty much showed how great this show can be. It was scary, it was shocking, and really went to some very surprising directions I'm very happy the show did go into, but it's also a reunion type episode because finally, all of our characters are going back to London, and the characters that have been away from London, either they're headed back there or they're already there, and that was awesome seeing this episode. I really enjoyed the way that was done, but let's just get in this episode because there was a lot to talk about, and I am so hyped for next week's finale just from the likes of this episode. But where does there start with? Let's start with the first scene, because the first scene is just a perfect example of how great the show handles tension and suspense, and probably one of the best cold openings Penny Dreadful's ever done. Now, like Game of Thrones, Penny Dreadful is not a show that usually has cold openings. We usually go right to the intro and then the episode starts. However, this episode is an exception. It did have a cold opening, and what a better time to have one, because this scene here is huge. It really is, and it doesn't seem like a huge scene, but it really is. Just the way this is done, I thought was amazingly done. We're at this cemetery. We see this grieving mother looking on as gravediggers bury her child's coffin, which is probably the worst thing that any mother would have to go through. But Lily then watches from a distance, and we don't know why she's there. I was kind of thinking, was this daughter possibly involved in rape? Was there something going on there? I mean, was the mother raped possibly? That's kind of what I was wondering. But the mother says that it was a girl. Lily offers her condolences. She says that the day a good woman will have to undergo such indignities has almost passed, and they will not have to suffer their children to die dishonored. And as she goes, Lily tells the mother that her daughter rests in good company, and then lays flowers on the grave of Sarah Croft. And this was just incredible. I mean, we obviously know that Lily kind of remembers her memories as Brona Croft. Now, she doesn't necessarily remember her name. I think she does remember her name and everything, but she still is Lily. But of course, she does have her memories of Brona Croft, and she remembers she had an Irish accent, she remembers the life she had, and just knowing what she had to go through, the fact that she had this daughter that we've never heard of before. I mean, it does sound very far-fetched, but it makes perfect sense because there's tons of shit that she's had to go through. There's tons of stuff she didn't know about, and this is the perfect example. That's one thing she never really had to face, but I guess that she's realizing what she's had to face. I think it shows why she's so passionate what she's doing, and I definitely really did love seeing that. Further shows what Brona had to go through. The fact that she was a prostitute and probably had this child from being a prostitute is very sad to see. I really do feel bad for her, but it really does show how great Billie Piper is. This, without doubt, is probably her best episode since Memento Mori. She absolutely kills it here, and definitely is one of the biggest stars of the episode, and I thought it was a fantastic way to start things off. So while there was some really great stuff with Lily in this episode, most of this episode focuses on Vanessa's storyline, because this is where we're finally starting to get things set in motion. Like I said, we see Vanessa lies sleeping among the exhibits, and Renfield is crawling right toward her. Very creepy, may I add. This is probably Renfield's creepiest episode yet, and that's something I like, is that Renfield is not at all normal. You can definitely see that now. He's sniffing at her skin, he licks her. Vanessa stirs, and Sweet grabs Renfield by the throat, lifts him up. He shakes his head, drops Renfield, who scurries away, and, obviously, Renfield is controlled by Dracula. So Sweet then wakes Vanessa. She admits that she hasn't slept so well in years, and they kiss, and Sweet suggests that they leave before the staff arrives, and it's, again, really interesting because Vanessa doesn't really suspect a thing, but you kind of understand that, obviously, she wanted to get allies, and she felt the only person she could trust was Sweet, and because that, again, I don't see anything really, far-fetched about this at all, and it's not at all like Malcolm's plot. Malcolm was him thinking that, that she really loved him and everything. Vanessa's is more gaining allies and having someone on her side, and she really has no one at this point. The only person that's really been there for her is Sweet, therefore that's why she thinks she can trust Sweet, which of course we know she can't, but she doesn't know that right now. And then we get this fantastic reunion scene where Vanessa returns to Malcolm's townhouse, and there's Caliban, of course, as she knows him as John Clare, and she gives him some really great advice in this scene that I thought was just really well done. I really love this tender reunion between them, and we're really reminded reminded how well these two acted, how well these two just act out in a scene, just from this scene. He calls to her, says that he's in need of a friend. They go inside, and basically he explains everything that he's gone through, and there's just so many amazing things here. But of course, we know there's a lot more going on with Caliban and Vanessa than just at the surface. I mean, we've known that Caliban was the orderly that Vanessa bonded with, so now their scenes are not only just very well done, they're very tender, and you really do see that chemistry between them. And there's always a little bit of the orderly still left in Caliban, because Caliban explains he accidentally left him disfigured. He wonders how his family can accept him as he is. Vanessa assures him that she sees a kind and loving man, and she suggests that Caliban give his family the chance to love him again, take his hand, and of course, it seemed like he was going to go away and that he was going to turn dark, but Vanessa asks him if he remembers the time when they met at the Benning clinic, but he doesn't remember it, and she says that he was kind to her and she loved him for it, and the man she knew deserves to be loved, and she does remember that he was the orderly, and that's incredible. And I don't know how exactly she knew, but somehow she remembers that he is the orderly, and you can see what's the saddest part is that he doesn't remember, but she does. She knows exactly that this is the orderly, and Caliban wonders if Vanessa has found happiness. She doesn't know much of it. She says that they both should because they have been unhappy enough, and Caliban wonders what happens if they're rejected. Vanessa wonders they can be more lonely than they are now, and after a moment, Caliban agrees. And really, these two are in a very similar situation. They both really want to be accepted by society. Society frowns upon them. They don't have many people on their side, and they're just trying to live life in the best way possible. And the advice that she gave him I thought was fantastic. I love the way that scene was done. Again, we're reminded how great a chemistry these two have. It was a very good way to see things there, and I really love that mini reunion between them. And the fact that she remembers him as the orderly really adds to the episode. And I didn't think it exactly made sense at first, but then I really loved it. Loved the way that was done. Amazing stuff there, and I really think, we're really reminded how great, Eva Green is. I mean, this was a particularly great episode. Every week is a great episode for Eva Green, but she just bonds so well with any actor. But Rory Kinnear, she just does so well with something about their scenes are so well done, and I love what they did with them and with him in this episode. So Malcolm, Ethan, and Kaeteney ride to the nearby town. Ethan asks Kaeteney what he does now, and the Apache says they'll go with Ethan because he'll need allies for the battle ahead. And Ethan insists that the battle's over, that there is really no battle to win now because the battle's over and everything. Because obviously we now know that they took down Jared and everything, and it seems like, Rusk died in the process. All of them are dead. What happens now, we don't really know, but Kaeteney warns him that hell isn't done with him, and when Ethan says that the way of land has brought nothing but blood and he can't live with it anymore, he walked away from a woman who offered him her heart. And now we kind of understand why he walked away from it, because he couldn't live with the fact of, he couldn't live with this blood and everything, and Kaeteney wonders how he can let his people go so easily. Ethan tells him that his people are in London now, and that's who he wants to be with. That's really his people, is that he wants to be with Vanessa, he wants to be with Victor, those people, and the Apache warns that Ethan has a future, and he cannot escape, and admits that Ethan will always be his son. However, he warns that there is more to the world than what Ethan understands, and a darkness coming over the earth as foretold by their ancestors, and one Apache can save them all. And Ethan is said Apache, and Ethan basically, because Kaeteney has claimed him to be that Apache. But you can tell that Ethan's trying to distance himself away from that, and it does make sense, obviously, because he just feels that going into darkness is not all the direction that he should be going in. He really does not want to embrace that darkness. He wants to kind of do his own thing, and I think it's kind of what Hecate said, that he's not going to let anyone decide for him. He's going to make his own decision. Malcolm then comes over to join them, says that he purchased 3 tickets to New York. Kaeteney has a vision. He collapses, and he sees Ethan and Vanessa reunited in London. Vanessa tells him it's too late. Night creatures reach through the windows. Kaeteney tells Ethan that what he saw warns that Vanessa's in danger, and that they have to go back immediately, that Vanessa is definitely in danger. They're definitely not going back to New York. They are, in fact, going back to England and, to London. That's where they need to go, because obviously Vanessa's in danger, and that's probably the worst thing that Ethan could think of. Now, am I thinking that Ethan and Vanessa are getting back together? I don't know. I don't think that they're going to be friends. I think they're more friends. I don't really think he wants to. I mean, he just had that whole thing with Hecate. I'm not really sure if he's going to get back with Vanessa. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Either way, very well done scene. Really like the way that was done. I thought that was really good overall. Especially because you really do see that concern that Ethan has for Vanessa, but also seeing that, this flash, basically, that he's, this flash forward that he has, is it actually going to happen? We don't really know. I mean, we don't see them meet up with Vanessa in this episode, but I feel like that is going to happen next week. I think it's going to be very interesting if it does, and I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to end up happening in next week's finale. So then we get this incredible scene at Dorian's townhouse, which basically involves Lily, and it kind of shows how divided Dorian is from everyone now. And that's something I think they did really well here, is that Reeve Carney, Dorian's going in a much different direction than we ever thought he could have. He actually is starting to be a bit divided from Lily, and I kind of like the way that's going. Basically, he watches as the whores Lily is gathered to eat at his dinner table, and Lily literally has tons of just prostitutes there, and Lily finally calls him to order, stands up on the table, says that in Ireland there is an ancient tradition of cleaning after a death. The old women sing the soul to a better place, but the Catholic Church decided it didn't approve of the pageant practice. It had the women arrested and tried, and they were sentenced to death. They sang as they were hung, sounding to their way to immortality. Lily takes a glass of wine from Dorian, tells the whores that they must have the same commitment. She says that they must prove their commitment to their great cause, tells them to go and rise up, finding bad men and bringing them their right hands. Justine and the others cheer in agreement. You can tell that there's a lot more in Justine, and while Dorian watches silently, and you can tell that Dorian really does not like what's going on here. He really does not really condone this, but at the same time, he can't really do anything. Lily has brought this upon herself. She can't really, she wants this to happen. She's not going to let him tell her what to do. I think it's very interesting the way they're portraying that overall. I like the way that he's kind of against her right now, and I think it's a really good direction for Dorian. That's something they did really well in this episode, that characters go in some very unexpected directions, but very believable ones. You can understand that Dorian does kind of have some limits here. He does not condone all of these women just killing men for no reason. He sees killing for a valid reason. He feels that they're killing for no reason, and he wants to stop because of that. I think it's very interesting overall. I really like the way that was done. And Billie Piper, oh my god, she just kills in that scene. I don't know why she hasn't won an Emmy yet. I mean, this was probably her best scene since that monologue when she finally awoke as that Lily that we've seen throughout this season. That really was her big scene, and this scene I think was just as big as that. I really hope Billie Piper finally gets that nomination, because it's about time. She deserves it, and she really is one of the best hidden gems of this show. I mean, Eva Green gets praised constantly, and she really is fantastic, but Billie Piper I really think is great, and she really has done some great work in these last 2 seasons, as shown in this scene. So the next day, Caliban goes to his family's tenement, and again, he goes in kind of an unexpected direction here, because you're thinking this isn't going to go well. You're thinking his family's going to be scared of him and everything, but that's not all what happens. He approaches his wife, Maggie. She stares him in shock and insists that it is impossible, but she's not scared. She's more shocked. She doesn't want to believe, she can't believe that he's actually alive, and then she hugs him, and they talk, and Caliban tells Maggie his story. He says that he lost his memory of Maggie and Jack. Maggie assures him that his disfigurement doesn't matter to her, and that it really doesn't mean anything. She doesn't care that he has this deformity, it's still her husband, and she loves him for that. And Caliban says that he has done cruel things and been unworthy, giving into rage and walking in darkness, and he cannot be the man that he was, because he has done some really bad things. And Caliban, he has killed some people, he has done some really bad things, and, he sees himself kind of as a monster, but Maggie says that now he is home, and I like the way they're doing this, because it is deriving from the original Frankenstein story, but that's something that Penny Dreadful does really well. You don't have to do exactly the same story. Penny Dreadful doesn't really follow source material. They do when they need to, but I like that they don't follow the exact source material. This is much different than that. Jack and Maggie, Jack was his son, Maggie was his wife. She wants him to be able to start over. She wants to give him that chance, and I like that she's giving him that chance, because you didn't really know where that was going to go. I really like the way that was done. I think it was a very well done scene. Again, Rory Kinnear, you can see in this episode, he's thinking it's going to go one way and it goes a completely different direction, and I was very happy that this worked out for me, because I really thought this would not work for Caliban at all, but it works so much better than he ever could have imagined, and I absolutely love that. So, really good stuff there. At Dorian's townhouse, the whores bring back the severed hands, lay them on the table, and as Dorian comes in and looks at them, Justine invites him to dance with her, and he declines, and Justine warns that there may come a day when his charm isn't enough. He's charming, but that might not be enough for her, and she might have to kill him, and she says that he wanted to kill her, and now he has one. And I like that Justine, he can't control her. I like that she's kind of gone on her own, and Dorian tells her he can toss her out whenever it pleases him. He grabs Justine by the throat, tells her to show her claws, and then walks off, and I feel like he kind of thinks she's faking it, kind of, because we know Justine before, she was innocent. She wasn't this savage killer until they told her to kill, the man that was abusing her, and then she killed him, and ever since then she's acted like this. And she tells Dorian that she has to deal with the women and closes the door, and he sees Lily comforting a crying whore. He wants Lily to do something. You can tell that he's just thinking Lily needs to do something, but even Lily is too involved. She tells Dorian that that she has to deal with the other women, close the door. Dorian starts to go to his room, however, he turns back, goes outside instead, and I think it really just shows how divided he is right now. He doesn't want to have to interfere, he doesn't really want this to happen, but he doesn't really have a say. This was Lily's decision, and because of that, Lily is the one that makes the decisions. He really doesn't have a say in that. Kind of sucks that he doesn't, but he doesn't, and there's really nothing he can do, and I think he knows that there's really nothing he can do. So, unfortunately, as much as I think he'd love to kick all these women out and get them the hell out of there, there's really nothing that Dorian can do, and really this whole situation just really sucks for him. So Jack is then looking at his model ship when Maggie brings Caliban in. She says that Jack's father has come home, but warns the boy to prepare for a shock because he's not how he remembers him. Caliban emerges from the shadows, calls his son's name, kneels down next to him to help him with his ship. Jack looks at his mother, who smiles and then takes his father's hand. Caliban breaks into tears and Jack hugs him, and Caliban is getting everything he wanted. He's being accepted by his family. He's being welcomed back in with open arms. They're not scared of him. They're a little bit startled, obviously, but they're not scared of him because they know he's not a bad guy, and I think it really does show that orderly he does have in him, and that kind spirit. Vanessa really makes him better, and I think really Vanessa is the one that brings out the best in him. I think we definitely do see that here. I love the way that scene was done. I mean, again, I could see if someone thinks it's cheesy, but it makes perfect sense after all the hatred that Caliban's been through, after everyone that's been scared of him, everything he's done, finally he's being accepted by his original family. I think it's the only thing that Caliban's ever wanted, and I think he's done that so well, and I like that he even defended Victor. He even said Victor did not mean to make him ugly. Victor did not mean to give him this deformity. But now, that's how he's turned out. He has this deformity now, and there's really nothing he can do about it, but he's kind of just accepting it. I like that finally they are accepting him for that deformity. They're not scared of him. They're not thinking of him as a creature. They're thinking of him as an actual man, and I think it's really well done the way that's going. I was a bit surprised it went the direction it did, but I really did love that overall. Really good stuff there, and amazing stuff. Definitely Rory Kinnear, like I said, just killed it here, and I love the way that scene was done. So as Ethan, Malcolm, and Kaeteney head across the ocean by liner, Kaeteney performs this ritual, and as Ethan tells him about Vanessa, he says that Vanessa's in pain, but her life has been cursed. She has a feeling for things not of the earth, and then we get this really cool scene with Kaeteney. The way they did this I thought was really awesome. I really enjoyed it overall, and even though Kaeteney hasn't been with Vanessa's character before, it really seemed like he has been. Basically, Kaeteney has this vision of walking through the unclean fog of London. He arrives at Malcolm's townhouse, and he finds Vanessa going over books of the apocalypse, and she senses his presence. He appears during his spirit form, tells her not to be afraid, and says that he is with Ethan and Malcolm. Vanessa says they must hurry and come to her, and Kaeteney tells that he feels the dragon nearby. She speaks of a pestilence coming to mankind. Kaeteney asks if it's her property. Kaeteney says that she is a fertile bitch of evil, and all of the night creatures are gathering around her, basically, and he tells Vanessa not to be deceived by them because they are false lovers, and she is made for the day. Vanessa tells him that he is wrong and smiles. Her eyes are turning red at this point, and it's such a cool scene the way that's done, because you don't know if this is just a vision or if this is actually happening, if she actually sensed his presence. Just the way that was done was really cool, and you kind of get the sense that Vanessa might actually turn evil in this scene, and Wes Studi just killed it here. He's killed all season, but he's really done a great job, and I really think this scene in general, he really was awesome with, and I love the way that scene was done. So he then emerges from the vision, and he tells his companions that Vanessa is halfway the dragons already. He says that Malcolm must use all influence he has to leave the captain speed the ship, and once Malcolm goes, Kaeteney asks Ethan to gather his bits and bones and make them quiet again, and goes to his bunk to reset, and the Apache says that one day Ethan will do the same thing with his real bones, and tells Ethan that he can see why he loves Vanessa. He can see what it is about her that it is attractive to him, he can just see it, and however, he warns that she is damned, and I think he definitely is showing that, he can't be with Vanessa. I think we've already kind of established that Ethan can't be with Vanessa, but Ethan says that it won't happen while he walks the earth, and he's gonna make sure that things work out well for her, because he feels he's the Apache, and he's gonna be able to save her. I kind of feel like he's not, though. I feel like maybe Kaeteney might be that. I don't know, though, but Seward's then in her office, listening to her recordings of her sessions with Vanessa, and the way she's doing this, you can definitely tell that she is kind of believing what Vanessa's saying, but she kind of thinks something else, because Renfield comes in, startling her, claims that he left his billfold in his desk, and Seward says that Vanessa's, now we know obviously why he's there to investigate Vanessa, and Seward says that Vanessa's case is driving her mad, assumes that she's a split personality because she speaks to three people, and she feels that Vanessa has split personality disorder, and Renfield wonders what people she manifests. Seward tells him to go home, she won't admit what's going on, and She notes that he's pale, wonders if he's sick, and Renfield assures her that he'll be right as rain soon. Again, she can just tell that something is off about him. He's not acting like he usually does, and definitely something is off. She just can't really tell what it is, and I think it was a very well done scene. Really like the way that was done. But Catriona then arrives at Malcolm's townhouse. Of course, it was cool to see Catriona again. I like that we saw her last week, and it was awesome to see her here. Vanessa lets her in. The Thanologist says that she has new information on the dragon, and Vanessa shows her the research she's been doing on Dracula. And Catriona warns that the books are written by small-minded peasants and theologians who invented assumptions to fit their fears. And all the myths about Dracula are false, we find out. And Catriona tells Vanessa to start with what Dracula has given her and accept it as truth. And Dracula presents himself as a fallen angel cast to earth, taking different identities throughout the centuries to protect himself, going unnoticed until he strikes. And while he strikes, the air will become pestilence to mankind, and the night creatures will emerge and feed. And the end of days is the one universal constant in Thanology, and the world ends with death holding dominion. So it kind of seems like that's where we're headed, where maybe the end of days might be coming. And shocked Vanessa pours whiskey for the both of them, wonders how she can defeat an ignoble race, because obviously, it seems kind of impossible. And Catriona says that in his human form, Dracula can be killed like anyone else when he's in his human form. When he's in his human form, everything's fine. No one has ever lived to determine how Dracula can be killed in his inhuman form, and Catriona says that Vanessa will defeat him, and she is going to be the one to do that, and explains that she comes from Highland stock. She has done her share of butchering over the years, but the work that must be done is that of a spy rather than of a soldier, which is interesting, the fact that it needs to be of a spy. So Catriona tells Vanessa she must get close enough to look into Dracula's eyes, then have the courage to kill him, and Vanessa asks how she can find Dracula. Catriona says that he is a Taxian above all. He'll seduce Vanessa rather than attack her, and he will be unexceptional in his human form. He's served by semi-human familiars, and he deals in the house of night creatures. And again, the reason why I don't think Vanessa's stupid with Sweet is that she didn't know any of this information. She thought all the myths were true. She thought that she knew what Dracula was all about, but now she's realizing that that's not true at all. Vanessa focuses on the last and thinks of the museum exhibit of night creatures, confirms that any weapon will kill Dracula, and Catriona realizes that Vanessa knows in this scene who Dracula is, and she very quickly is realizing, and I think putting together, that Dracula is none other than Sweet. So later, Lily and Dorian go out. He talks about how they have unleashed all the Bedlamites, and when Lily says that her women aren't mad, Dorian points out that they aren't only her women. And yeah, that's true, they're not just her women. That she basically, this was Justine that got most of them. She told Justine to recruit all these women, and he asks if Lily despises all mankind or just men, and wonders when she will turn on him, because he feels that eventually she's going to turn against him. And Lily assures him that he is her beloved, but Dorian wonders where their shared superiority is shared by no others, and he tells her that he is bored because he has lived through so many revolutions, and it's all so familiar to him. And Lily says that he's a spoiled child. Dorian tells her that she has disappointed him most of all. They had the opportunity for a cosmic darkness, but that all she has created is an army of depraved whores. If you remember, they wanted to be able to take down humans, and they really haven't done that. She's focused so much on helping Justine. This isn't at all what they wanted to do. What they wanted to do was help people that were, weak and affected by humans and things like that, but they didn't really do that. And they have, basically, Dorian says that they are in an ebb tide, and one of them has to change their ways. He thinks it should be her, and that might be the best thing to do. But then before she can answer anything, Victor then emerges from a carriage behind Lily, drugs her unconscious. The two men then get her into the carriage driven by Henry, and at Bedlam, Henry and Victor chain Lily into the chair. She wakes up, and Victor tells her that she's safe there. Dorian is there with Henry and Jekyll and Victor, tells Lily where she is. She leaps out of the chair, only for the chain to bring her up short, warns Victor that he chained her for his protection. You kind of get the sense that Dorian is happy that this is happening and not hers. And Jekyll says that they're going to make her like she was before when she was with Victor. Victor promises to take away all of her anger and pain and make her a proper woman. He's going to try to make her a proper woman. Now, is this going to work? I don't know. But I feel like even Dorian is condoning this. He's completely okay with this. Why? Because the Lily that he wants is not the Lily that he has right now. And no, they can't really control her, but I feel like they kind of feel like they can. Even though they can't, I feel like they can at this point. And I think it's a very interesting situation, the way that's going. The way that Dorian isn't okay with what what Lily is doing, I really am loving the direction that's headed. Really interesting stuff there. So on the liner, Ethan joins Malcolm on the deck. Malcolm admits that he should abhorred leaving his family and admits that he only cared about them when he was gone. And Ethan figures that Malcolm killed Jared was meant to be an act of mercy and admits that he couldn't pull the trigger. Malcolm tells him that he should be thankful that he still, because obviously, Malcolm was the one that killed Jared. It wasn't Ethan. But Malcolm tells him that he should be thankful that he still has a soul and that he should never lose his kindness or become like him, because Jared became that way. Jared was not a good guy. He really wasn't. And Ethan points out that his friend still has kindness because he spared Ethan the sin of patricide, and he admits that he thought he could kill his father because he is no stranger to night work. However, Malcolm wonders if Ethan would do things differently if he could, and even says that the only grace he has known was with Vanessa and Malcolm. Malcolm bids Ethan goodnight and leaves, and basically I think Ethan's trying to say that he wants to be a good man. He doesn't want to be this monster that Hecate told him to be. He wants to be his own person. He wants to find some sort of balance between those two, and I feel like he can only find that balance and have that goodness in him when he's with Malcolm or with Vanessa. I think it was a very well done scene, really good way it was done. But then we get the big reveal at the end of this episode. I love the way this scene was handled. Amazing stuff overall. Eva Green and whoever played Sweet just killing this next scene, and there's so much to get into. It was such a good ending, but let's just get into it. I think probably the thing that makes this scene so great is because Vanessa already knows in the scene that Sweet is Dracula. This is only her trying to confirm if it is and getting the clues that she needs. So she takes a gun from the desk, puts it in her pocket, she then goes to the museum and the Night Creatures exhibits. Sweet is looking out over the exhibits, assures Vanessa that she is loved. He wonders how he is cruel to love her, insists that he has never lied to her. He's a man who marvels at the wonders of nature, knows the tragedy of pain and loss. Sweet walks to her, says that he is the man that she fell in love with. Vanessa reminds him of all the people he has twisted and killed throughout the years. She refuses to serve him. Sweet says that he wants to serve her as the mother of evil, and this is no longer Sweet talking. This is Dracula clearly talking, because she's figured out that this is Dracula. So furious, Vanessa spits in Dracula's face, walks away. He says that his existence has been a string of shabby identities and vulgar worlds, and asks her to have mercy on him. Vanessa draws her gun. He tells her to do it because he would rather die than walk another day without her. He says that the world has shunned them both because they are different. He offers Vanessa the chance to be what she is, and he will accept her for that. And honestly, I mean, you kind of do feel bad for me because he just wants Vanessa to love him, but crying Vanessa lowers her gun because he's doing everything that she wanted, and he's kind of weakening her. And Dracula says that she should try and be herself, not what others want her to be. He promises that he will love her forever. Vanessa says that she accepts who she is, and with that, Sweet bites into her neck. Vanessa gasps in ecstasy, and even though she was there to kill him, she's not there to kill him in the end, because now he accepts her for who she is, and because he accepts her for who she is, that automatically stops her from killing, because that's everything she wants. She wants to be accepted for who she is. She doesn't want people to think of her as this monster. I think it was a perfect way in the episode. Amazing stuff there. I think perfectly done, but really what happens now, I have no idea. I think it was a perfect ending. Really creepy stuff, but also very sad as well, and very satisfying, because you really don't get the sense that Dracula is a bad guy. He's kind of just appealing to Vanessa and kind of giving in to her, but of course we know what he wants to do. We know that really he wants her to take down Lucifer, and really he's using her for that. You definitely get that sense, but the way this scene was done, I thought was so well done. I loved every minute of it, and I think it was the perfect way to end this episode. So overall, crazy episode. There was a lot to get into, like I said. First of all, Vanessa, is this vision that Kaeteney had gonna come true? I mean, Ethan thinks that he's gonna be able to save her, but I'm not really sure. I mean, after what Dracula just did, I don't really know if it's going to be possible to save her. Now she is under Dracula's control, clearly. He's the one that is going to be commanding her. He's going to be telling her to do all these different things. Is she going to listen to him? Is she going to do her own thing? I'm not really sure where Vanessa's going. That's something I'm definitely interested in seeing, is where Vanessa's really headed. I don't really know. That's something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, is really who she's going to listen to, because I feel like Dracula is a person that she is going to listen to, because she can kind of understand where he's coming from. She can understand what he wants from her, and he accepts her for who she is, and that alone, I think is enough for her to want to, go with him and agree with what, and kind of agree with what he's doing. So we'll have to see what happens with that. I feel like the vision is very much going to come true, and the end of the world is definitely coming, we see. I mean, the end of the world seems like that's the direction we're going, is that the end of the world is definitely coming. They're going to have to stop her, and we see in the promo next week that London is not what we've known it to be. It's all foggy and shit, and we'll have to see what happens with that next week. That's going to be very interesting. Now, as far as Lily goes, is this plan really going to work? Because I feel like Dorian, Jekyll, and Victor think that they are going to be able to get that darkness out of Lily, but again, is that really in her? Is that just a part of her now? Because I don't really know if that's able to get rid of. I'm hoping, I don't really know that's going to work. I'm not really rooting for anyone here. I'm just interested in seeing really how this is going to work. And yeah, Lily definitely has gone too far. You know, definitely she hasn't tried to stop Justine. And I feel like if she doesn't stop Justine, Justine's going to end up killing both of them. I think she needs to realize that Justine is very dangerous and she's created a monster, really. Even though she initially wanted to create a rebellion, she's created a monster and it's not really doing anything, but we'll have to see if this plan really works between Victor and Jekyll and Dorian, if they're really going to be able to help Lily and everything and get this darkness out of her. I'm not really sure that's going to work. That's going to be very interesting. Seward. Seward obviously suspects something is going on with Renfield. You know, he's not saying anything right now, but I feel like she definitely can tell there's something strange going on. Just the way he's acting, it's not normal, definitely. Something definitely is going on there. That's going to be very interesting as well. I love the Caliban's back with Jack and Maggie. I'm hoping things go well for him. Jack, I think, is probably going to die, but he's going to be able to see his son die. He's going to be able to be with his son in his last dying moments. It's very sad, but I feel like that's definitely where we're going, is that Caliban's going to be able to watch his son die. He's going to be able to see everything he's wanted to, and I am very happy that Caliban finally is getting that chance that he's wanted, and he's finally being accepted, just like Vanessa's finally being accepted by Dracula, and that's something that, while isn't good, you know, they're very similar in that sense, and I definitely really do like that. As far as Kaeteney goes, who is Ethan really going to listen to? Because Malcolm is telling him that he has goodness in him, Kaeteney saying he's still the Apache, and Ethan seems like he's trying to find in between. So really, is he the Apache? Does he have goodness in him, or is he truly dark? I'm sure we're going to get the answer next week, but I don't really know what that is. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. I like the role that Catriona is playing here. Is Vanessa really going to be able to take down Dracula? I mean, obviously, she's now under Dracula's control, so I don't really know if that's really going to work. We'll have to see how that goes. But overall, guys, amazing stuff. Amazing episode overall. By far the best episode of the season. I mean, this episode went in so many unexpected directions, and so many big things happened here. Every star, I think, had a standout moment in this episode. Everyone really was incredible. I cannot wait for next week's finale. Next week's finale is going to be amazing. It's a 2-hour finale, which is awesome. We got 2 episodes left for this season, which I can't believe. I can't believe we're already at the season finale. The season really has gone by so fast. Not just because there's 9 episodes, it's just gone by really fast because, again, it's been a very good season overall. And let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys next week, which will be for the series premiere of the new show on Freeform called Guilt, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.